Reinforcements have arrived. Stealth is key.
Sir? Of course. Unit reporting. Moving out. Yes, sir? Yes, sir? Unit reporting. Unit ready. Sir? Unit ready. On my way. Yes, sir? Yes? Of course. I'm ready. Yes? On it.
Sir! Yes, sir!
I'm all ears. Of course. Of course. On it. Of course. Sir? Orders received. Yes? On it. On it. On it. Of course. Of course. Of course. Unit ready. Sir? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If he detects the trap, capture him before he can
I'm all
flee the
ears.
sector.
On it. On it. Of course. I'm all ears. Knock Sir? Moving out. I'm all ears. Sir? Unit reporting. Orders received. I'm ready. Unit ready. Moving out. Yes. Yes. Waiting orders.
All toxin soldiers killed. Mission failed. Reinforcements have arrived. Stealth
Yes,
is
sir.
key.
Unit on my way. Engineering, no problem. Engineering, no problem. Engineering, no problem. Yes, yes, of course. I'm ready, of course. Unit report on my way. Moving out. Yes, sir. Orders received. Moving out. Yes, sir. On my way. Moving out. Unit ready. Moving out. Orders received. Waiting orders. Moving out. Unit ready. On my way. On my way. Yes, sir. Orders received. Orders received. On my way. Yes, sir. Orders received. On my way.
If he detects
Moving
the
out.
trap,
Yes, sir.
capture him before he can flee the
Moving out.
sector.
On my way. Orders received. Moving out. On my way. Moving out. On my way. Sir? Yes, sir. Moving out. Yes, sir. Moving out. Moving out. Moving out. Yes, sir. Orders received. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Moving out. Sir? Deploying. Yes? I think I can be persuaded. Of course. Of course. Yes?
Yes, sir!
I'm ready. I think I can be persuaded. Waiting orders. Waiting
Sir,
orders.
yes, sir.
On it. Of course. Yes, sir.
Timer
Sir,
started.
orders received. Unit reporting. On my way. On it. On it. Moving out. Yes, sir. On my way. Moving out. On it. On my way. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. On my way. Yes, sir. Of course. On it. I think I can be persuaded. Unit reporting. Yes, sir. Moving out. On my way. Yes, sir. Orders received. Moving out.
Yes, sir!
Yes, sir. Unit reporting. Moving out. On my way.
Yes, of course. On it. Of course. Of course.
Sir? Yes, sir.
I'm all ears. Of course.
Waiting order. Yes, sir.
On it.
If he detects the
On
trap,
it.
capture him before he can flee the sector.
Unit reporting.
I'm on it. Of course. On it. On it. Of course. Of course. Of course. I'm all on it. Of course. On it.
Unit reporting. Moving out. Yes, sir.
If he detects the trap, capture him before he can flee the sector.
I'm all ears. Of course. On it. Of course. On it. On it. Of course. Of course. Of course. Of course. On it. On it. On it. Of course. Of course.
If he
Unit
detects
ready.
the trap, capture him before he can flee the sector.
Waiting orders. Orders received. On my way. Sir?
Of course.
Waiting orders.
On it. On it. On it. On it.
Orders received. Yes, sir.
Yes. On it. On it. Of course. Of course. On it. Of course. On it. Of course. Of course. On it. Of course. Of course. Of course. Of course. I'm all ears.
Waiting orders received. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. On it. On it. I'm all ears. Of course. I'm ready. On it. Of course.
Yes, sir. Orders received. Orders received. Yes, sir. Moving out. Orders received. On my way.
Of course. On it. On it.
Waiting orders received.
Yes. Of course.
Sir, moving out. Moving out.
I'm ready.
Moving out. Unit
On
reporting.
it. Of course.
Moving out. Moving out. Moving out.
Knockout.
Waiting orders. Yes, sir.
I'm all ears. Of course. On it. Yes. On it.
Waiting orders. Orders received. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Deploying. Unit reporting.
Yes. Knockout. I'm all ears. Yes. I think I can be persuaded. Of course.
Waiting orders. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Moving out. Yes, sir. Orders received. Unit ready. Yes, sir. On my way. Yes, sir. Deploying. Orders received.
I'm all ears. I think I can be persuaded.
Secondary
On
objective
it.
achieved.
Sir. Unit reporting. Yes, sir. Moving out. Waiting orders. orders. Moving out. Moving out. Yes, sir? Orders received. Orders received. Moving out. Yes, sir? Yes, sir? On my way. Yes, sir? Yes, sir? Sir? Yes, sir. Unit orders received. Yes, sir.
I'm all ears.
Of course.
I'm ready.
Orders received. Awaiting orders. Out. Unit orders received. Orders received. Orders received. Unit reporting. Moving out. Awaiting orders received.
Yes. Okay.
Sir?
I'm ready. Knock out.
Sir? Orders received. Sir? Orders received. Sir? Orders received. Unit ready. Out. Unit ready. On my way.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes. Okay.
Waiting order. Yes, sir.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes.
Tertiary objective achieved. Mission accomplished.
Sorry to interrupt your patrol, soldier.
I'm not gonna talk.
We don't need you to talk. We need you to listen.
I should have gotten captured a long time ago.
Your brother doesn't think much of you, Jake. I was just curious. How is it he's a hotshot commander and you're the smart one? If you believe your propaganda, you won't believe this. But the Brotherhood is only interested in peace.
Your brother's in it for the glory. A real hero fights for peace.
I want peace.
We need you, Jake. We see what GDI doesn't.
We see the undiscovered warrior.
And we're willing to give you everything to come fight for us. Power, divination, respect. Everything.
Data burst transmission. From the inside. I did it. The perimeter will be down in an hour. All clear in an hour.
Nice work.
Take Amethyst, Slavic. Bring it to its knees. You will find in your control 3 ICBM launching platforms. You must get them to their assigned points inside the base.
GDI's Philadelphia space station will orbit overhead 3 times. You must get all 3 ICBMs in place and fire them before the 3rd orbit is complete, or they will have time to target and destroy you.
When the battle is finished, we will be victorious, and the technology of peace shall flow across the land.
We suggest that the Brotherhood should not suffer the indignations of the past. In order to prevent history from repeating itself, you must steal the firing codes for GDI's ion cannon. Paranoid security measures prevent GDI from storing the entire code in one place. Therefore, use a Canadian spy to infiltrate 3 different comm centers. Once we have the codes and the spy is safely evacuated, we will be able to use GDI's ion cannon against them in the final assault. Unfortunately, GDI will have to use the ion cannon once before we can use the codes. Kane's vision is at hand. Unfortunately, GDI's orbital station, the Philadelphia, can stop the missile that will take us into the future. We must destroy the Philadelphia at all costs. The Philadelphia will require 3 orbits over this sector before it can locate our missile. You must get 3 ICBM launchers into position before the Philadelphia's final orbit is complete. With the ICBMs in place, we can bring GDI's command station down. All this remains contingent, of course, on McNeil's helpfulness. You must pretend to pursue him back towards the GDI base. They will open the perimeter to let him in. Once he is in, he will deactivate the perimeter shortly thereafter.